Ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you on this date, January 5th, 2025, you're going to remember where you were tonight when the Blaze Ace Christian has returned to Sportswire Radio in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, a platform that he most certainly helped build to the tune of nearly 1,360 subscribers. What a year this young man has had. You think about what he's done just in VTW alone. He's the reigning defending VTW heavyweight champion. He was wrestler of the year, had match of the year, moment of the year. Oh, and how about his home company, DBW? I got my shirt on, by the way, got my uniform on. He was the DBW Hub City champion. Some would even say that he had, more success than his own father in the second half of the year. I'm not going there because I don't want the prophet of purgatory to come down on me, but who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We'll also talk about, with our guest, what he has done in the independent wrestling circuit. And I have an upcoming guest that he's actually shared a locker room with, and you'll almost kind of be surprised about that. We'll also talk about this year for our Blaze, how he's even blazed a trail to graduate high school, get a driver's license, and even have his own car, which I'm sure he'll be using to state, win championship after championship, and just maybe just tonight, forever break the forbidden door with an announcement. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to remember where you were on this date, time, when the Blaze, let's just say, unlike yesterday's one of the comments, trail blazes, a trail that we'll remember for a very long time. And oh, by the way, youngest world champion, period, in the underground. Youngest at the time, Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. Didn't even mention those things. But you know what? I know you're waiting for it. He's waiting for it. And I'm waiting for it. In fact, I'm so excited about this one. I actually got home extra early from Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn today, and I'm like, you know what? I'm back home, and maybe I should stay around. But nah, the Blaze Ace Christian, he awaits. He awaits here. Some would say we're starting the weekend. We're closing the weekend. It doesn't matter. We're going to get this show on the road here in style. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to give our guest that Blaze-like introduction here on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, the 2024 VTW Wrestler of the Year, the 2024 VTW Match of the Year participant, the winner of the 2024 VTW Moment of the Year, and the reigning, defending VTW Heavyweight Champion of the World. His name is simply put, the The champ is here! My friend, how are we doing?
I'm doing a lot better now that I heard that. By far, I'm not biased, but by far my favorite intro on the show.
You know, I think you've been here 3 or 4 times, and I got to be honest, I do feel like that the intros have gotten better over the years. I remember I went back and listened to one of my old podcasts before, any of you guys in DBW or even some of the guys in the chat have been here. And it was like, this is New York's #1 sports show. I'm your host. I mean, I had a little bit of it, but like now it's almost like if I don't do it and it's like repetition, but I think they get better all the time. And I almost have to ask you this question. I know, completely off topic. You've been in the Indies now for a little bit of a brief period of time. Now, do you get these kind of intros in the Indies? Well, how do they introduce you in the Indies?
They just introduce me like, coming from blah, 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 and then they say the Blaze, he's Christian.
See,
you tried that out.
I always go back because I remember watching Michael Buffer. I always think about Michael Buffer. I think about Jimmy Lennon in boxing. I always think, to me, Bruce Buffer, certainly for UFC, like you gotta go and give that oomph. I mean, we're here, baby. I don't know. I mean, I get every guy in the indie, they've got their own way of doing this, but I would think that you have a guest on or you have a big person like yourself, you got to give that extra oomph. I don't know, but that's just me. Be that as it may, it is good to be with you. Happy New Year. And there's a lot to talk about here over the next hour and a half or so. I see a lot of people coming in right now, which is always a good thing. I knew that was. I've been talking about you for about 5 days coming on Sportswire. We spoke about you last night with Silas Walker. We most certainly spoke about you with Chase Wakefield when he was here a few weeks ago. We spoke about you in a couple of different places, but I'll leave that at that. But let's start things off here. For those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, the platform that you, Ace Christian, and your father, Mr. Judgment, have certainly helped build here to the tune of nearly 1,360 subscribers. I ask you, what does it mean to you now to be the reigning, defending BTW World Heavyweight Champion?
I was expecting a lot to talk about, but that off rip is, it hits in a warm spot.
Sure.
Like what's his name? Boss of Sauce Bigsby. I heard him on commentary. Like he said, I started from the bottom. I literally whenever I first stepped foot in VTW, I was on a pre-show of Best in the Yard 4. In my opinion, it ended up being one of the best matches of the show. But
we spoke about this with Silas. We talked about Best in the Yard 2. I referenced that. So yeah, you guys have had some great shows. I mean,
so I started there, and then BTW took that kind of hiatus a little bit, and then they came back, and I debuted at Pot of Gold. And ever since then, I had to work to where I'm at now. Not only in VTW, but everywhere else. You got to start somewhere, and I started from the bottom, and then I worked, and then that work paid off. I honestly, I'd be lying if I told you I had never dreamt about it. Like I have dreamed about it, but I didn't realize that dream would come to reality so soon.
Well, you never know. And before I do anything, I see Darkron is here in the chat, and he said he might get smacked with a winter storm. So my thoughts and prayers, if you're out there in the Ohio area, stay safe, and we hope you hang out with us. But thank you for that, Mr. Khan. But the VTW World Championship, you talk about it, and it's a dream, and you're right, because of the immense following, the platform, and also your struggles this year to win the VTW championship. You obviously had a contract. You struggled with it. There was this whole fight earlier in the year about when you should take the opportunity, and you've had to claw your way and kind of going through that even from earlier in the year to now finally getting it here against Zach Daniels. Does that also, in a way, make it sweeter or just make it more meaningful and such?
Yes, it really does. So let me talk about the guy that I beat for the title.
Sure.
And one of the foundations of VTW,
absolutely,
Zach Daniels.
Absolutely.
So at the beginning of the year, he took me under his wing. And I obviously shook the hand, and everything was good. And I was going to be able to learn from one of the original four, one of the four horsemen, you could say, of VTW. And, everything was good. Up until at VTW Mania, once I knew my game plan for the Reunion Rumble contract that I won earlier in the year. Once, because I faced Aaron Jones, and since I lost, I was barred from cashing in on the
I
World
think I had
Championship.
you on last right around that time where you were figuring out what to
Mhm.
do with you. I think you had won the Rumble, but you were trying to figure out what to do. I think it was the last time you came here. I'm pretty sure.
Possibly, but yeah. So my plan after that, like obviously, it was a rough loss. Technically, not even clean because he just grabbed my leg and just what I'm saying. But he's a changed man now. But after that, I was just like, once Aaron finally drops the ball, I'm gonna take advantage of that. And whoever, because I stepped in the ring with Aaron, and Aaron is a phenomenal competitor.
Oh, for
And
sure, for sure.
like whoever faces him and whoever can beat him, they're gonna be worn out. Because I was worn out. But Merrick beat him
Yep.
and took advantage of his shoulder. So what did I do? I came out and I was hoping to cash in that opportunity that I've been waiting far too long, in my opinion. And he comes at me with the title. I duck. I turn around, and it's Zach. And I just froze. Like I honestly I froze, and then I couldn't I felt like I couldn't move. I was honestly crumbled. I felt
Yeah.
like I was crumbling because I just watched my trainer. I just watched my teacher, just pull off like something unimaginable. So then after that, it was just, uh, Aaron wanted the same thing as I did, and that was retribution. So, me and Aaron faced once again, and I was able to get the upper hand on him that time. And, I told Aaron in that ring, you could take that reunion Roman contract and cash it to the bank because at Avery Hook Memorial,
Yep.
I'm going to be champion. And I told you so. And then at Avery Hook Memorial, teachers versus student, Zach Daniels versus Ace Christian for the World Championship. And I dropped the ball. So then after that, it was just, I don't know, what to do after that because I unsuccessfully cashed in my opportunity technically, but I wasn't going to rest. I wasn't going to stop because I'm already right there. I'm already so close.
And you've
It
went through
doesn't
this
make
the
sense
whole
to
year
stop.
already. You've dealt with the
Exactly.
situation with the contract. You've had the whole thing with Zach earlier in the year. You spoke about Aaron Jones, that situation. So certainly it's a setback at the Avery Hoke Memorial, but you were at this point, I've been here, I've been knocking on the door. I got to find a way to get through.
So I knew the way I could get through is through the boss man. So I called the boss man. I was just like, hey, this company is not going to go up if Zach Daniels is still champion. So you're already caught up with your stuff with Novin. I'm not doing anything. I want to become world champion. So we were able to get that squared out, but under one condition. And that condition was Zach Daniels got to pick the stipulation for the match. And Zach on Instagram, he said that I quit on him and then that he was going to make me quit on myself. And in an I quit match. That was the biggest lie I ever heard because no one is going to make me quit on myself. I'm not going to quit on myself. This journey, also get this t-shirt at Bonfire or you can get it from me personally. This journey is just getting started, baby. You already know what it is, man. And then
Absolutely.
at Christmas Chaos.
I'm going to put the match up on the screen in a few minutes because I want people to see it because I think what you've done inside the ring and people would say, oh, well, Ace Christian and who his father is and Ace Christian. But no, I've known you a while and you've been on the grind. There's no question that you've had a lot of setbacks this year, especially in VTW. So to win this after what you went through, I mean, literally, if you didn't win this here at the last show, I mean, I got to be honest. I mean, I'm sure you come on to Sportswire. We talk about some different things. DBW, you definitely had a lot of success, no question. The year was very, really interesting year in DBW, but I don't think it would have been the same. I think, you would have been here, but if you didn't win it here finally, it would almost be almost like the Cody Rhodes question. When would Ace Christian finally win the big one in VTW? And this was your moment.
Yeah. And especially coming from, like I said, coming from the bottom, but like people will call me an outsider too, when it comes to VTW, because I didn't start with the company
No,
back when it
no.
was in its, some would say its prime days. Dude, right now it's its prime, by the way.
I think the
Anyway,
subscribers, I think they've gained more subscribers in the past calendar year and change than they had the previous like 5 years. If you
exactly,
actually physically look at that.
but like or an original would be obviously like the Four Horsemen. You got Tyler, you got Ecstatic, you got
Yep.
Aaron, you got Zach Daniels, you got guys like Silas, who was an original back then. But you know, coming from someone that was a quote unquote outsider and then winning that alone proves that I'm no longer an outsider. I am a VTW guy. Let's put that straight right there.
Absolutely. No, listen, and I think that definitely solidifies that. And I want people to follow VTW. I want to put the link up here in a second. So I'm going to actually put us up here from the match. We're going to go and take it up from here. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go like that. Yes. And you need to follow VTW, closing in on 4,400 subscribers. An amazing number for an amazing company. And I have some actual VTW coverage coming up this Thursday, believe it or not. You'll actually laugh at who my guest is, but you'll actually get the reference here in a minute. But let's put the match up. We'll watch some of it here because it is a long match, but we'll see you here. You're coming out. And just tell me what's going through your mind here right now.
So, I mean, obviously, I come out with the Merrick mask because, I got to get a little rub on that. Because, that was the thing that kind of set me off. So, I needed a little reminder before the match. We're waiting for Zach Daniels to come out. How am I going to come at him with the biggest punch?
You get nervous in a situation like this. I ask some guys this, and especially in a championship match with the ramifications here. You're obviously waiting a bit here for the champion to come out. I mean, is there nerves going through you at this moment?
I would be lying to you if I said that I did have nerves because I was honestly in the zone. I like there was something about that day that just I was ready, and obviously it shows.
Well, I
Shows
mean,
not
you know
only at
what?
the end of the match, but it shows right here whenever I catch him off guard.
So, all right, so let's talk about that. We talked with Silas yesterday and his match with Wakefield and a different feel, obviously two different things. But did you feel the need here to come out here and have a strong start?
Yes, 100%.
All right, tell me why. Tell the audience why.
I will tell you why, and the reason why is because I couldn't beat Zach in a regular match. So,
all right, good answer.
It's like I had to take the opportunity while he wasn't really paying attention, and he thought he was the shit. Had to do that.
And that was obviously by design here, and you're coming out here, and again, a very strong offensive start here, figuring that maybe with your high-powered agility, your instant offense, that maybe you could wear him down and be able to eventually wear him out and win the world title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you got right here, and then just I dropped the ball right there, and then he just got on me after
That
that.
looked like it. You know what? When I watched it the other day, it looked like it hurt, and I think it hurts even more.
Dude. I mean, luckily I didn't land on it just straight down. But
You would have had the back bump, and it would have been right on the tailbone.
Yeah, but yeah,
but you're a football guy. Listen, you played football. You have plenty of you're transitioning. I know you've obviously been doing this for a while, but you're a football player, so you're used to these hits, and you go back out there and you just keep using your youth to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it was a brutal match, but it was worth it in the end. No matter, I was ready to go through anything to
Did it
Yeah,
make
tough.
you? Were you ready because this was pretty much like your last shot that
Yes.
you'd have at the world title?
This was all or nothing for me at this point. Like if this wasn't it, then it's never like I don't want to be that guy to use that saying, but it truly was an all or nothing moment for me because if it wasn't now, then it just wasn't meant to be.
I know you've been doing this a while, and I know that you're starting this journey on the indies now for the past, I don't know, 6 months, whatever it is. I know you've been training and such, and you're pretty much where you are now. But I have to ask this question. It's an obvious one. You'll get why. In your career, where does this match rank in terms of, is it the most important match? Is it the biggest match of your career? Greatest match? Where does it rank in your career so far?
I would, I mean, I can't really put a number on it, but this would definitely go up there as one of the top matches as far as I'm trying to think of a good word for it. As far as like want
Turning point
to.
in your career, maybe? Maybe it's a turning.
Yes, like a like this is why. This is why you're doing this. Is for moments like this. And, during the match and after the match, it's moments like those that make me want to keep going. And so like with not only the reward but the risk during the match, just having to
Yeah, I
fight for
mean,
that. And
there's definitely a lot of risk.
as much as odd as it sounds, I enjoy the fight, you know, for the prize.
You did. So you
Just as much
enjoy
as the
what
prize.
you enjoy what you're going through here.
I mean, not necessarily, especially like that, freaking kick me in the face, but
Yeah, I was
no,
like, really?
no. But what I mean by that though is like being in the ring is special to me
Sure.
because obviously for my dad doing it and then now me doing it, it's just there's something about being in a ring that just makes me feel at home.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, and I think also being in a VTW ring with the product that VTW has and the amount of eyeballs that watch VTW. So to be a champion of a company like this, I think that says a lot. I mean, we talked about the subs, right? 4,400 closing in on, and probably got, I don't know, almost close to half their subs in the past year and a half. And in a company with, like you said, the four horsemen and guys that have accomplished a lot inside and outside of VTW. And I think that that's also a part of this. It's not like you're wrestling for a world title in someone's basement somewhere and it's like, 5 people might watch it and, maybe they have 100 subs. You got, again, 4,000 plus. You got guys that have been accomplished, guys that you've seen through your own journey, and they're looking at you a certain way too, because some of them probably know you when you were younger, and now this is kind of to me the moment where you transition to now they're peers of yours and you're peers of them.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds about right. You just taking the words out of my mouth. So.
Don't say that here, but we are watching Zach Daniels
Oh
versus
no,
the Blazing
this was not good.
No, but well, I mean, it was a pretty. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, kids don't try this at home.
Yep, and I'm not a kid no more.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, definitely not a kid, but Zach Daniels doesn't feel like a big kid here. Although he might be screaming like a big kid there in pain, but he's definitely not a
I
big
definitely
kid.
got the worst of that.
Well, between the two of you, it'll definitely be a moment. I'm sure you'll share some type of talk with over the years. But
Oh
you
yeah.
go, but you're wrestlers. You go back out and fight, and with it, an I quit match. I've had a lot of guys on over the years, obviously in different realms, whether it's overseas, here, and whatever you want to call VTW or DBW at this point. And when an I quit match with an intense match like this, champ, how do you prepare for something like this?
Well, it's not hard. I can't say it's not hard. It's hard. What I meant to say is it's hard to prepare for the match because
Okay.
it's obviously not like a normal match. It's like you have to physically wear them down, like
Yep.
to the point where they give up. Like not only mentally, but it's not only mentally taxing, but it is physically taxing
Sure.
to make someone else quit on themselves.
Well, you got to put them through something or so much that it makes them just not want to do this anymore. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost, I mean, it's a wrestling match, but it's not a wrestling match in the sense that, you're going out there and you're putting your opponent through. I mean, in a normal match, you're obviously putting your opponent through a lot, but this is
Yeah,
taking it on a whole nother level. Look at Zach Daniels' back already. I mean, look at his back and look at. I would say you guys have only been in the ring a quarter of the match so far, something
not
like
even in
that.
the ring.
Yeah, maybe a couple of moments here and there you've been in the ring, but by and large, most of the time you and him have been on the outside. And what does that say?
That just shows that it's not a normal match. It's a fight. It's man to man a fight.
Let me ask you then this question though, since you obviously most people would know the outcome of it. Um, but how watch this match if you've gone back at all? Have you gone back and watched the match since it's taken place? Have you gone back, or are you one of those guys that goes back and watches your match over and over?
Yes, I do watch this match a good bit. Not only for the moment itself, but just seeing the fight that I had. You know, uh, I don't think I've ever fought as hard as I did
Really?
other
You've
than
had
this.
a lot of matches in your career with a lot of different people. So this is the hardest you've ever fought.
Yes, because this is the biggest prize I've ever won. You know.
True. That's true. That's the hardest thing. And it's meant so much. And yeah, Zach Daniels is definitely thriving in pain. Yeah, he's really
Yeah,
in pain there.
he deserved that. He deserved that. He deserves everything that comes his way.
Well, I mean, when you have something like this and you're going through all these things, also as a wrestler, in a way, doesn't it allow you also to expand some of your creativity because you get to do different things and such?
Wait, repeat that a question again, because I
I
was.
said with a match like this, because of the different things you're doing as a wrestler, this match allows you to explore some of your creativity.
Yeah, it does. Like we've been saying, it's not a normal match, so that means unique things happen. Not only with introducing weapons and just the different style of match that this is.
For sure. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit here in the match because obviously we have a number of different things I want to get to. So I'm going to go push back here a little bit. So right now we're probably more than halfway through and
Yeah,
you have
towards the
some,
end.
yeah, you have that. And
I almost hit the
this is
ref.
going to hurt. Yeah, this is going to hurt. Yeah, this is going to hurt.
Oh yeah. Well, that was my intention.
Well, I could see that. Thank you for telling us that. I that's why I'm not getting in the ring with you anytime soon. But you just look like a different person from when I saw you when you had the contract. You were here right around the time you had got the contract. You were trying to figure out what to do. That was about February of last year. I'm looking at you, even though, yes, I've watched you in DBW. DBW is kind of one of my home companies that I watch. DBW is a company that I watch quite a bit. But I don't know. There was something in this match. Tell me your thoughts that you just look different. You look more like, I have to throw the term out there, but you look more like a man than you did 10 months ago. What do you think on something like that?
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like I said, the journey, no pun intended. Uh,
You in
the
the ch-
the actual journey and the actual strive to getting to where I'm at now made me into a man. The best way
Wow.
to put it. Especially during this match, that was the closest I've been to quitting. I
Oh, well,
almost
I mean, the
stopped there.
way he snapped on that crossface, I would say, like, boy, I'm glad I still have my teeth in place afterwards. And I'm glad that I didn't have to go to the dentist afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I could see it there. You could see it, the toll it's taking on both of you. You just see just in the wrestling, and then you come out of this with a move. I mean, just a move of desperation. But I don't even know how you pulled it off. Your strength's incredible there. I mean, you're an incredible talent. I mean, there's no question that you have a lot of talent and a lot of abilities, and you're finding a way here to dig deep and bring back Merrick.
And yeah, so at that moment, whenever I grabbed the mask, I saw the opening. He almost got back on, like, was able to get back on top, but I had to whip out a quick little insecurity.
I gotta tell you, when I watched it
um,
and I'm watching it again, I'm like, I don't know how this guy does
so
what
then I
he
had to
does.
quickly get up on that, and then I needed to get him a taste of his own medicine, and he did literally and figuratively.
Well, you know what? You to quote Bon Jovi, you definitely gave him some bad medicine, but I don't think that he's loving that. And definitely, it's not what he needs to quote Bon Jovi. But you could definitely see that, yeah, he's have arrived in pain and the emotion that you're going through right now. Tell us just what you're feeling here in this moment.
That I mean, I didn't feel anything. It's just that's why I just kind of just sat there, and I wasn't happy, and I was just, the best way to put it is I was just relieved that this is over between me and Zach. I'm
So it wasn't
relieved
like
that.
some other people, they come down and they look up the sky and, we always hear the boyhood dream, Shawn Michaels, or, everybody gets carried out almost. And you're a football guy and, people dump the Gatorade on. It's just, but it's almost, look, the way you acted, it was like, I'm going to pass out and drop to the floor.
Yeah. Like I said, just relieved that the book of me and Merrick and Zach is done, and we can move into a new year with hope and faith. Um, and I'm glad and honored to be the head guy, to be in charge of the new year. But yeah, I mean, obviously the emotion eventually got to me,
You got
because
there.
it took a minute. It's just like I said. It's just like whenever it actually happened, it's just like I like I did it, you know, and it's like
I got to
I,
ask you one question. You said faith there in a minute. I know you well. And faith, how important is your faith for you to get through what you do?
so I will say, like, I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in a God. And I'm working on my relationship with God. And I think that the not only in the ring but outside the ring, the the struggle that one can go through, as far as myself, uh, can help me with that. And so that's why I do this, because it puts me through. It gets me under pressure, and I thrive under pressure.
Yeah, that's what, a really well said line, and there it is, the VTW World Champion, the Blaze Ace Christian. And let me give a big plug to our friends here in VTW. They're doing a phenomenal job out there, and VTW is doing such a phenomenal job that I think people should go and give them a follow on YouTube. I'm going to put the link up here for the audience, so if you'd like to do that, there's the VTW channel. Here's the handle. You can go check out VTW and a lot of content. And speaking of VTW, I'm going to have on Nikki Chooch here. Nikki Chooch is on here this Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, from one New Yorker to another. Nikki Chooch is here live on Sportswire Radio. I knew you were going to give me that reaction when I said Nikki Chooch is here on Sportswire, because Silas even kind of broke a little bit, because Silas wrestled him, obviously, in DBW. But yes, Nikki Chooch has finally arrived to Sportswire Radio, although I interviewed somebody that was close to him in a previous incarnation. But Nikki Chooch arrives to Sports by Radio this Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about VTW. We'll be talking about Scorpion the Assassin. We'll be talking about a number of different things out there. So check that out. And also check out a lot more VTW, and I'm really excited about the future of VTW, and I hope that you join me in supporting them. They have a great roster and a great program, and I would really encourage that you support them. So I'm going to take this off the
100%.
screen for now. Yep, absolutely, because I know there's still a lot I got to get through here, but I got to bring up DBW. I've been doing a lot
Yeah.
of DBW coverage of late. I have Van Hansen coming back here in a few weeks, who I think is retired. I obviously had Silas here yesterday. The Big Tech's failure tour, I'm not going to ask you on that because it's been beaten like a bush. It's been beaten so bad that Silas didn't even want to talk about it. Mr. Wakefield was a topic. Maybe I'll ask you about the wedding invitational, but your DBW year was, I think, in some ways more interesting than your VTW year. You were in Ego to start, but you certainly left them, and you wound up winning the Hub City Championship. You took that from your dad, by the way, held that for a little while, and then you ran into a guy, Zachary Depew, who's had quite a run in his own right here of late. And how do you feel about the way things went in DBW, especially maybe toward the end of it? Unfortunately, at Merry Mayhem, but overall, I think really, really strong second half. As a matter of fact, I think you had a stronger second half than your dad did.
100% agree.
Yeah.
So now it's time to flip the switch a little bit.
Let's flip the switch. Yeah, I want you to flip the switch on me.
A lot of people have been asking me why I did what I did to Ego. Why am I pointing out to be the bad guy? Newsflash, I am not the bad guy. I am doing the correct thing. And I will tell you exactly why. So, as you know, the DBW Hub City Championship, held by my father at that point, had a little bit of a curse because you see, it was first held by Chase Wakefield, and he wanted to run away with it. So Kayla Matthews had to save the day, but then he ended up running away with it. Oh my, that makes me mad. But anyway, that's not the point. So then, Aaron Jones had won it. And he didn't even have the title. So at that point, that's just a bad, that is just a terrible lineage. And that's nothing against, Aaron, and it's a little bit against Chase Wakefield.
I knew you were going there,
and it's a lot against Kayla Matthews.
Understood about
Trash
Mr.
Bagger.
Well, I understand that.
He's some hot ass. But anyway, let's get back to this. So my father beat Aaron Jones, and you could say that my dad broke the curse.
I would think so. He was a double champion.
Wrong. I broke the curse, Tom.
Wait.
No. You know why I broke the curse?
All right, tell me why.
I am so much better than my father will ever be.
Well, you've already, I think, in terms of what he did at his age compared to what you've done, relatively speaking, yes. But let's talk about a couple things here first. Let's talk about number one, Ego. Ego, a lot of people would have said that was an obvious one. You really weren't a kind of what Ego was. I mean, when you joined the group, that was kind of, I mean, don't you think in a marriage of convenience for you in a sense? I mean, couldn't have one easily saw that coming months ago?
So
you had your own struggles last year. You remember you struggled after you joined the group. You struggled quite a bit. So to me, again, common theme with other guys. Look, it's Walker and Chaos Conspiracy. Walker was kind of the prophet of how things went. And look at his year. You look at where you were last year. Look at to where you were in the second half of the year. So really, it was a marriage of convenience.
So whenever I first joined Ego, it was such a good moment because I just won the Holy Grail. Was challenging my dad, and then I joined Ego, and I wanted to join Ego. I wanted to be in that group, and the reason I wanted to be in that group is because I wanted to feel welcome, and they had my back for the past few months at that point, and then I joined them, but things weren't going so well whenever I joined them. I had just about lost every single match that I was in with Ego. So at that point, and I was honestly just fed up with it. And what really topped the cake for me was when Roland came out after I had qualified. I had earned my opportunity to face my dad. Roland came out, and he wanted to bring up that him and my dad had unfinished business, and he wants to claim that it's not personal. You just brought up your beef whenever you know that I have an opportunity that I earned in front of me. By the way,
Well, I mean, it was.
you came out in front of me
You
and
know, it was
decided
so
to say
personal. I actually,
decided
mediated a segment between them. That was at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, Roland wasn't wrong though. That Roland and Mr. Judgment had unfinished business. There was definitely it was personal. There's no question about that.
no. I completely agree with you, Tom. But what I don't appreciate is
What?
sticking your nose in my business because I didn't get in the way of Roland and Judgment. Did I?
True.
No,
No,
no, I
no.
didn't.
I agree
Okay,
with you on
so
that.
then Roland wanted to walk his way into my match, so I had a plan. I came with a plan right there in that ring because at that point I was already fed up, but that topped the cake. So what I decided to do was
What?
take him out of the equation. And it's funny because he figured it out after months that it was me. And let me say this. So whenever we found Roland, Colin pulled me to the side, and he was just like, I don't know if he can do this, so maybe I should step in. And I'm just like, God dang it! Like I thought I got rid of the thorn in my side, but yet again, I got the brain.
But don't you
So
think it's
so
ironic though? But don't
so
you think it's also ironic that all of you kind of really didn't function as a group, and then once you all don't function, look at what Colin's done away from the group. Austin James is trying to figure out where he is, and you had your year. So maybe as a group, you guys collectively too many egos.
well, I ain't worried about ego no more because that's in the past.
You
But what
left
I was
one.
trying to
I'm just
say,
saying though.
I hear you. But what I'm saying is, whenever Colin decided he wanted to be in, that's fine by me because I get to show the world that I don't need ego. And I'm not going to sit here and say ego needed me because they could have done perfectly
I
fine
think it
without
was a
me.
marriage of
So,
convenience.
so, so, if anything, it was a mutual thing that I did by myself, and I took matters into my own hands because at the end of the
Fair.
day, I did the right thing, and the right thing was for me to hold the Hub City title. Not my dad, not Aaron, not Chase, not Caleb, me,
But do
me.
you think that was also a little bit of some satisfaction for you because your dad basically said he wanted to like put you in the grave here on a few occasions here on Sportswire,
Oh yeah,
and you
100%.
and you were also a part of his downward spiral.
Yes, I was, and I pray on his downfall every single day because of that. You know what I'm saying? Dude, because he called me a failure, bro. Look at where he's
I
at now.
know. Yes, I'm
Anyway,
well aware.
anyway,
Yes,
anyway.
yes.
But Depew, let's talk about
I
Depew
want
for a
to
little
put the
bit.
match. Yeah, Zachary Depew again. Guy. He's one of these guys that really went through a lot this year. Almost, I don't want to say he was the version of you in VTW because he didn't win the DBW World Title, but I mean, this guy went through a lot with Jackson Snow. This guy went through a lot to get to where he is. We've seen a change in look, and he's had to change himself in ways. And I mean, you had a great run with the Hub City Championship, but it is kind of a little bit of a bummer that you lost the title, I'm sure. But I'll put the
Yeah,
matchup in the screen on the screen. We'll talk about that. But I mean, Zachary Depew, I mean, where do you go from here going into DBW in a few
Thomas.
months?
Actually, I would not like that match to be put up
Oh,
because
we will not
none
put
of
it up.
yeah, we will not put that up because none of these people. I don't. Me personally, I don't want to see me.
All right, but I'll tell you what I
You
will do.
picking up what I'm putting down though.
I'll tell
So
you what I will do. I'll put the DBW YouTube channel
oh
up so
yeah,
they can go hit
do
the
that,
sub button
do
for
that.
that. So, all right, but Zachary Depew, he beat you, but 2025 in DBW. You got a few months. I asked Silas this question, kind of in reverse. I asked Silas, okay, you had this momentum, you did all these things, you're fighting with Stephen Gaynor, you've got Austin James, a man you've wrestled and obviously know quite a bit. But so where do you fit in DBW going forward here in a few months when things resume?
So before I get into 2025, let me talk about Depew real quick. Depew,
Sure.
he wanted to, talk crazy on Thunder Punch, and we had the match, and I was taking him too lightly, if I'm being honest with you.
Really?
So
Even though what he did to Jackson Snow, Walker talked about him here and kind of had the same problem, and you took him lightly? Nah, I don't believe that.
yeah, but yeah, I will say, his girlfriend did get in the way. His fiance, his wife, whatever you want to call it, she got in the way. I technically should still be champion, but the ref was distracted by the pew. So if anything, the pew is the bad guy because he's the one that distracted the ref.
I'm
That's
gonna
what
ask
bad guys
you.
do. That's what bad guys do. They distract the ref. I
All
don't
right,
distract the
let
ref.
me ask
I
you
win
something.
clean. I
You
win
know,
clean.
all right, all right. Let me ask you something, and I'm thinking about it as I watch the match, and I have to ask you this question because I asked Walker yesterday. I don't know what you saw or didn't see with Walker. We've talked a lot about his problems with Stephen Gaynor, and not to drag you into that, but obviously with an outcome that you had with Depew, do you have any feelings on Stephen Gaynor and the job he's doing?
I think Steven's doing a great job.
You
To
think
be
he's doing a
honest,
great job,
I do.
even though
I
you
do.
lost the title in controversial fashion?
That's not a Gainer problem. That's a ref problem, and that's also, I'll admit it. That is a Roland Havoc problem because he is the one that came out to interrupt. He wanted to give me a taste of my own medicine. I didn't do anything to him. I opened the eyes of the people to realize that I deserve everything.
So the
You know
real
why? You
problem
know
isn't
why I
Stephen
deserve? You want to
Gaynor.
know? You want to know
Yeah, all
why I
right.
deserve anything?
I want
Oh,
to know.
all right. You want to know? All
I
right.
want to know.
Why do I deserve everything? I'll
Why?
tell you why.
Tell me
I
why.
will tell you exactly why,
You
Thomas.
tell me.
The reason why I deserve everything in DVW is because I started from the bottom, like I said about VTW. But in DVW, it goes all the way back. It goes all the way back.
You do know you should come out to that song. Started from the bottom, now we're here. You should be coming out to that now. That's what you
You
should be
already know.
referencing.
See, yeah, yeah.
You've already mentioned it like 3 times. But you know what I learned just now?
What?
You're right. The problem isn't Stephen Gaynor, like Silas Walker has complained about. The problem isn't even the referees. Your problem next year, in order to alleviate that problem, is Roland Havoc.
So
That's your problem.
I will say he is a big problem, figuratively and literally. Anyway, what can I say about Roland Havoc? He was the leader of Ego.
Yeah, well
Carrying
documented.
Ego. You could say all these things about Roland. He could be one of the greatest World Extreme Champions of all time. But what you can't say about Roland Havoc,
What?
that he ain't me. He can't do me.
No.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close. But
Why? Why would you say that
honestly,
for? All right.
why?
Yeah,
Why?
why? I don't
If
know.
he was me, then he would be named the Blaze Ace Christian.
But he's rolling havoc, though. I mean, he's just a
He ain't.
different.
He ain't nothing. He ain't nothing. So
He ain't
that's
nothing.
why, since he ain't nothing, I'm not even worried about him.
You're not
Even
worried
as
about.
much as I should be worried about him.
Yeah, I would think you would be. I know Roland Havoc very well. I mean, he's a big
I
man.
I am not worried about him
All right.
because I got plans of my own. I got to move.
Oh, I'm
forward.
going to get to some of your plans in about 15 minutes. So I know that people are very eagerly anticipating that. But Roland Havoc still is a man that you're going to, I would imagine, cross paths with eventually again, right?
I don't know. Maybe. I always like to believe everything happens for a reason. And I think what's destined for me is to
What?
move on, because I don't need to be worried about the past. I had my run as a Hub City champion. I have my run as a VTW World Heavyweight champion that I have to worry about. Life's good. Life's good.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it to warm up like 30 degrees, but other than that, yeah, life's great.
Yeah, same.
I'm not a fan of the cold weather. I'm sorry.
Me neither.
It's just not for me. But all right, you know what? I tell you what. We'll figure that out. But you did, I think, have a strong year in 2024 in DBW, winning the Hub City title. I would partially agree with you that yes, you definitely did better than some previous Hub City champions. I mean,
Not
Chase
some,
Mike.
all. I did better than all.
Well,
Thank you.
well, your dad did
You're welcome.
hold the Hub City title. I can't say that.
So what you trying to say, that my dad's better than me? Is that
No,
what you're
what
trying
I'm
to say?
trying to say is that your career still. Your dad has had a great career. You can't take that away from your dad.
Yes, I can't take that away
You
from
can't take it
him.
away from your dad. What I mean, how he was the DBW champion forever. He's been the amplified champion. I mean, your dad. He was in the ring with the Barbarian this year. I still can't. Now, do you want to say you partially broke the curse? Yes, but your dad. I still can't say your dad's career didn't mean anything. I agree with you. Your dad came here. Listen, and I know your dad was here. I looked him in the eye. He wanted to put you in the ground. He basically said he wanted to kill his own seed. I know. Trust me, that I partially get. But your dad's
Partially get it.
career. What's that?
You partially get that.
I
My dad was
partially
trying to.
agree with you. You know, I said I partially agree with the fact you broke the Hub City curse.
I
But
thought
your
you were trying
dad,
to say that. I
you,
thought
you're
you were trying to say that you partially agree with how I felt about my dad trying to murder me. Murder his
no,
own.
no.
Is that what you're
Well,
trying to say?
I, well, let's see if your audio is a little better here. You're obviously right on some of the things about your dad, but when it comes to the curse, right, of the Hub City Championship, your dad's career compared to the other names, it's still worth a lot more than those names. So you might be right about Mr. Wakefield, who did he even win a match this year? You know, Caleb Matthews, I'm not even bothering with that. And Aaron Jones's struggles in DBW, for whatever reasons, are well documented. So compared to those names, yeah, you definitely broke that jinx, but your dad still held the title. So that's my point.
Well, talk to the hand, Tom.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding. No,
we're
I'm
gonna
just
talk to the
kidding.
chat.
But
No. We're
hey,
gonna talk
hey,
to the
hey,
chat.
you can have your own opinion.
No,
My
listen,
opinion,
we're
and
gonna
we'll
talk
put
to
it
the
at
chat.
that.
We're gonna talk to the chat because obviously they want to talk. They would rather
I
talk
want
to
to,
you than me.
I actually want to talk to the people too. So let's
I
go.
actually, yes, I do too, because they actually do want to talk to you. Let
Oh,
me get
lit.
to some people. Yeah, people always want to talk to you. Zilla's here. I think Zilla's been in some of the DBW chats. Zilla's been here. She's definitely been here. She like to say
I
she
love and
loves,
I
likes,
like
and
and
respects the
respect
Blaze.
and appreciate dang
And
love, like, respect, appreciate. That's a lot of words. I
I
appreciate
know,
you.
I
I
know. And
appreciate
the
you,
funny
Zilla.
thing was, you'll actually laugh at this. We had her live on Sportswire New Year's Eve, and I think she said more words in this than when she was actually here on the stream. Yeah, it happens. Thank you, Zilla, for saying hello. Thank you very much for that. She also wants to congratulate you. Yes, you definitely did deserve and to win the VTW championship
Thank
and the
you.
DBW Hub City title.
Thank you.
Omen Black is here for whatever reason. Hello to my friend Ace Christian. Didn't realize you guys knew each other, but who knows, right? You never know in the world. Hello to the House of Wolves IMF champion Omen Black. And speaking of people, by the way, I do have to bring him up. Chase Wakefield. Now,
You always
you
gotta
know,
bring him up. You always
I got to because I'm sure you're aware of Chase has become like a usual now on sports. He's right up there with the Omen Blacks and the James Taylors and the Anthony Steeles and the Aaron Blazes, the Soldier GPs, the Sean Jovis. He's here like every other month, and he's actually got something that you're a part of called the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitation. Although Silas Walker has tried everything he possibly can to get that event to no longer be the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitation, but you're on that card. And I have to ask you, I mean, what do you think about it? Are you excited to be on it or what? I mean, what's your thoughts on this, which is, I think, really cool, by the way?
I'm not only excited for the match that I'm in, but I'm excited and happy for Chase and his fiance, soon
We've
to
talked
be
about Janie
wife.
a lot, by the way. We've talked a lot about her on Sportswire.
Okay. But yeah, I'm just, I'm just there to, entertain. That's what
Do you
I'm there
think
to
you'll be
do.
well, I actually have something. Do you think that you'll be the best man at the wedding? Do you think that you'll be one of the people there that will help?
In my personal opinion, I think that Aaron Jones is going to be the best man because
I
he is
knew
his
you were going
best
there.
friend.
Yeah.
But realistically, I mean, I think that's up to him. But I've known Bert for a little bit over like 7, 8, maybe 9 years.
I think he said 7 years on Sportswire once.
7 or 8, something like that. But yeah, he knew me since I was a little boy. So I mean, we go long ways.
But you don't think he'll be the best man then?
I don't know. That's
you could make I think when you'd be like one of the youngest best men in history, if that would be the case, you'd have to be one of the youngest.
That would be lit. That would be lit, Thomas.
That would exactly be a reason why Chase Wakefield should make you the best man, because that would certainly help Chase. But I got to ask you, we're actually talking about this a couple of times with Chase, and Drew Hood is a guy that a lot of people know in the wrestling circuit, especially in the great state of North Carolina, and you got a match with him. And I'm curious in what you're gonna do here to prepare for this.
So I've never actually talked about this match as much as I should. So I'm glad that we're bringing this up. But I am very familiar with Drew Hood. Me and him have
Absolutely.
met before and all that stuff. But he has went his own way. I have went my own way. And our ways, our paths, and our journeys lead to this moment at the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational.
Well, if
It says
Silas
a lot.
Walker had his way, he would have changed it to the Silas Walker Wedding Invitational on yesterday's show.
That's
That made
crap.
me feel
That's
better.
crap, Tom. That's crap, Silas.
Well, I'll leave that at that. But I mean, it's a pretty big match. You're obviously proving yourself in the independents, and this is a guy that's certainly proven himself to be a very strong competitor there. And this is almost a prove me match, don't you think?
Yes, I 100% agree. As much as I like to, uh, talk about my accolades and accomplishments, but like, no, I wouldn't even say nothing compares because we are successful in our own ways.
Sure.
But Drew has tore down the house in the southeastern area.
Yep.
And obviously he is very determined to get that WWE ID. So am I. But like I said, we're striving for greatness, and I think that this match is going to tell exactly that.
No question about that. And the WWE ID program. Interesting you bring that up. There was a guy that I know, I think they were talking about Darius Carter, who has done some work with like Pro Wrestling Magic. He's done a lot of work where I live for like Warriors of Wrestling, which is based in Staten Island and Brooklyn. And a lot of people talk about him. But, just to bring it up, I mean, because we're talking about you, I know in the indies now. What does the WWE ID program mean to a young guy like you? What does that mean to you?
It mean to me, it's opportunity, just way more opportunity, and it makes me more hungry. It makes me want to strive more to get to where I want to be. So once they introduced that, I'm sure everyone on the independent scene was absolutely excited for that.
They should be. They should be. Yeah, they really should be. And
100%.
I'd like to see more people get opportunities, and I'm looking forward to the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. Names like D'Angelo, LaFlame, Aaron Blaze, they're wrestling each other, and the stepdads and the bad sons. We spoke a lot about that. Mr. Wakefield's got Matt DeMorris. Boy, Mr. Wakefield, give him a sign of the prayer, prayer and the cross. And
you're going to need some of that.
Yeah, he's going to definitely need some of that.
He needs Jesus.
He's going to need that. I don't know if Mr. Wakefield necessarily will be having holy water on him. And the Dawn's March, I mean, there's some just amazing stuff. Dan Stofko, I've interviewed on the car. I can't wait. You got to go follow Chase Wakefield's Instagram page, the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. It could very well be the greatest super show. I know people throw this around, greatest super shows, but he's literally getting married and having a super show while getting married. I mean, I give him a lot of credit, and he still comes on the Sportswire every month.
I think the only one up from that is having a kid at a wrestling show.
You know what? I'm going to certainly let Janie say that don't listen to the show tonight then. Janie actually has been here. I know because she's been here on the stream a few times. So we'll say she has. She's been here, and she wasn't too thrilled with Silas a few times, but we'll leave it at that. But yes, we love the Wolves, House of Wolves. Thank you for that. Darkron did want to say hello. Hope he has power still. So hopefully he's doing okay. President Zaddy, by the way, who drew me, he actually made me as a character. It was kind of funny on YouTube. I want to pull it up here for the chat. I got to give him a big shout out before we get to more comments here. President Zaddy, this guy is looking for new characters, new things. I have to find. If I don't find the YouTube channel, it's because I can't find it in front of me. But this guy really gets it. Maybe I'll find. I actually got it right here. You know what? I just realized it. There we go. Let me go like this. Here we go. I'm going to go right here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to share the screen, and there we go. Boom, bada bing, bada boom, to quote Nikki Chooch. There we go, right there. See, there he was. This is President Zaddy. He made me into a WWE 2K character.
Oh, that's wild. That's crazy.
He did. He did. It was, he actually, which is kind of cool about this. He drew it like, yes, the mutton chops, and I was here in a backyard wrestling ring. He put me out there. It looks like a Nesson microphone, and shout out to President Zaddy. Some people here would definitely say that this is not a mistake here, and definitely he's no outlier here. But President Zaddy, check him out, and we like some of the work he's done, and he drew yours truly. So yes, thank you for that, and we appreciate you. We'll take this off the screen. We'll come back to some more comments. We got a lot of them. Hello to D-Lock. How you doing, D-Lock? Good to see you. What's up, guys? Congrats to Ace on a hell of a year. You definitely deserved it, and congratulations on winning 2024 VTW Wrestler of the Year. Very impressive, amongst many other things.
D-Lock, coming from someone that I first challenged for the world title.
Yep.
That means a lot because, like I said, me and him had a hell of a match last year. Not last year, but the year before. You know what I'm saying? 2023. And I got my first crack. I got my first taste of a title opportunity. And then he, welcomed me to the Wrestler of the Year club. So you already know we get lit in that club. Man.
Well, you know what? I want to be a part of that club. That's a club that's definitely one that we'll, I'm sure, see more people to. Yes, we hope he's well. And speaking of people, he's no longer Big Tex. He's Colton Lee, and he'd like to say good evening, gentlemen. Yeah, and I heard he's coming to Sportswire here this month, and he's apparently got something to say. Who knows? Zilla, we appreciate you and the rest of our followers. Thank you, Omen. Yes, we do appreciate that. The Heartless Sheriff. Well, Sheriff, but that's okay. Omen Black, is it okay to support the House of Wolves without Justin Parsley? He said, of course, glad you finally opened your eyes. Don't follow the sheep, follow the shepherd. Who else we got here in the chat? I need some wrestlers for my game. Well, President Zaddy on YouTube, check him out. I'm going to give him a follow because he actually did some nice drawing of me. So give him a sub, and that's great. You can ask Omen on that. Speaking of people that certainly have caught attention, and that is Mr. CJ Black. He's the 7-star superstar. He's a guy that's done a lot in ROEW. It was the home promotion of Jack Delter, and called you a talented young man. Maybe Mr. Black is looking for future opponents one day.
Okay.
Michigan. Have you wrestled in Michigan before? Have you been to Michigan?
No, but I will wrestle in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere and everywhere, baby. So come hit me up, baby.
Well, I'll tell you what. You should wrestle this guy. You wrestle this guy. I'll tell you what. That would be a match,
But no, CJ, I honestly, never, I never heard your name before. But I do appreciate, what you're saying, and we'll have to.
Well, he's a fantastic talent. Copper Dragon gave him, I think he's the only person that Copper Dragon has given a 7-star rating twice, 2 separate times. He's like phenomenal in the ring. I mean, what this guy does in the ring, objectively speaking, this guy is a superstar. So hello there. I'm going to move away from some of the comments about House of Wolves. VTW, hit the sub button for. Ace, we're both going down the right path. So apparently you and I'm not going to ask you about the Big Tex failure tour, but he says, in DBW, you guys are going in the same way.
We are not going the same way because you are a bad guy. I am not.
I see. Interesting. Okay. Clever response. Sean Jovi would like to say hello to resident rock star. Absolutely. Hello to Mr. Jovi. And he's subbed to DBW's page, by the way, which I put up right here. We love that. Craven Michaels. Hello, Mr. Ace Christian. I hope you subbed as well to DBW. Hello. Who else? We got Ace Christian Instagram page. Got to make sure you hit the sub button for that. Speaking of people who were here Thursday night, that's the guy that cut my hair. Yep. I thought you had higher standards. You just let anybody on this show. Wow. Well, he's got an announcement that I'm sure that will have some.
Nikki Chooch, I got a question for you. How you let that cut, baby?
Well, right now he'll be, I'm sure, cutting up a cigar and maybe putting it in his mouth. Well, he'll have a lot to talk about Thursday night. I won't bring this up to him. Thank you.
No,
and by the way,
please do.
Well, we'll see what kind of mood he's in right now. We'll see what kind of mood he's in. I actually thought about Nikki today because where I was actually by a Knights of Columbus, which is kind of like, let me put it in a nice way, kind of like a place that would probably have, illegal activity, let's just say, like gambling and other things like that. And I thought of Nikki Chooch. Yeah, I thought of Nikki Chooch. Reminds me of a line they would say:
He
illegal
is about as
activity.
bad as a gambling addiction.
Well, as somebody who doesn't gamble, I'm going to move on. And her three favorite wrestlers in DPW are yourself, Brandon Castelli, and Silas Walker. Okay, good deal.
Appreciate that, Zilla.
Hi to Nikki Chooch. I
Godzilla.
see people are waiting for something here. It's coming. Is this the champions only portion of the show? Awesome 2024, kid. Here's to 2025. That's the PWF champion, Justin Parsley,
Appreciate that.
who was invited to the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational, but as a fan, not a wrestler. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Let's move on here. Crap. I didn't even ID this kid. He's the hall monitor of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, by the way. He's the hall monitor.
Oh, it's too late, bro. You already showed that comment. Yeah, you're done for.
That's why he said he's late. You can follow Chase Wakefield. Who else we got here? He says for the wedding, there's no best man. Chase, you still here? Meaning that Chase, he's another one, doesn't think Wakefield will make it to the wedding.
I don't know.
Well, and I see the chat getting interesting. That's why you can't join. Okay. Speaking of people, Silas Walker is here. There you go, Mr. Walker. Had a lot to say yesterday on Sportswire. Joined you in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Inducted him in the Hall of Fame. Thank you, President Zaddy. Who else we got here in the chat? Jake Dvorak, my buddy Jake Dvorak, who, by the way, check his Facebook out because what he did to his body. Now, you do a lot to your body, but I would really tell some people in the chat before I get to the topic that I think people are really waiting for. Kids don't do what like Jake Dvorak does. Let's just say he's put his body through some objects and different things. And, you may do a lot, but don't do what Jake Dvorak does.
No.
Yeah, don't do it. But, okay, so obviously we are here. We're on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally. We're all Wrestling Matters. And if you are here, if you'd like to hit the sub button for me, I'd appreciate that. But we're here with the VTW World Heavyweight Champion, the Blaze Ace Christian, the 2024 VTW Wrestler of the Year. He also had Match of the Year, Moment of the Year, and also what a year for him. He graduates high school, gets a new car, and now he's wrestling all across the United States. But speaking of that, this is the segment that a lot of people have been waiting for. And I kind of talked about what you're going to say here, which I have no idea, but I have a feeling of what you're going to say here tonight. For those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform, you, Ace Christian, have certainly blazed to a trail of nearly 1,360 subscribers. Sportswire Radio is going to forever break the forbidden door and change the underground wrestling circuit. So, Ace Christian, take it away and tell us with your groundbreaking announcement and what it is.
All right, so what is the Blaze Ace Christian doing to start off 2025?
Yeah, what is he doing? I want to know.
You talk about the forbidden door, the forbidden door.
Forbidden door. Yep, that's what I want to talk about.
Speaking of that forbidden door is getting busted down by yours truly.
Yeah.
Because the Blaze, Ace Christian,
yeah, all right.
The journey is coming to IMF.
Whoa!
February 22nd.
Wait, did you just say you're coming to the IMF? They're in Iowa. You're coming to the IMF.
Yes, sir, I am.
And now what are you doing? Are you maybe selling some merchandise? Are you going to pay them a visit? You're going to shake hands? What exactly are you doing there in Iowa?
I'm going to be doing all that, Hopefully I'll be selling some merch, I'll be doing some handshakes, getting the crowd turned up. But the job that I'm there to do is wrestle, right?
All right, yeah, I would think.
So with that being said, I got official word that I will be stepping in the ring with Thomas McEntee.
Thomas the one and only Thomas McEntee?
Yes. So
I know him. He's come on Sportswire. He's a name that's certainly been around in the world of BYW. He's a guy that's been making quite a name for himself in the IMF.
You say McEntee or how you say that again?
Thomas
McEntee. Okay.
McEntee.
So you got the Blaze Ace Christian Idol versus Thomas McEntee.
Don't even worry about it. I'll finish your sentence for you.
Idol idol versus idolater. And there's reasoning behind that, and I will explain
Okay.
that to you.
I want to know.
So this goes back years, years.
Yeah, he's been around in
And
the yard for a while. I've interviewed him.
yes.
I know his story.
And he got in contact with me a couple of years ago, and we just hit it off. Obviously people loving wrestling and all that stuff,
Absolutely.
and back when I was not even in my prime, like I was trash when I was a kid, and he like trash compared to now, but
Okay. All right. All
he
right.
he he looked at me as an idol. He told me that personally, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it much more. You can ask him yourself because that is
I
his
know. I,
words,
I
not
will. I
mine.
will ask him that. Yep.
But he viewed me as an idol back when I was not doing as well as I'm doing now. So now that we have this opportunity to kick down that forbidden door and finally get to have this match, idol versus idolator.
It's a match, and to have it here in the IMF, this is a big deal because you're a DBW guy, VTW guy. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen anybody from DBW. I haven't seen anybody in VTW, but more DBW step foot in an IMF ring. So really, what you're doing here, I mean, this is really breaking down the forbidden door and almost running right through it. This is a game changer that you're wrestling Thomas McEntee. You're going to wrestle him, but in the IMF, the Palo Community Center, in a place where hundreds of people are going to be, in a place that for an IMF fan or even on this platform, they've never seen a DBW wrestler step foot in an IMF ring. And this is going to be that night that we're going to remember a long time from now, January 5th, 2025. A little after 7:40 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that Ace Christian from DBW is wrestling an IMF wrestler, Thomas McEntee. It's a game changer. I'll remember this for a long time.
Well, I hope you do, and I hope the people that are in attendance do as well, because I will say this, I'm sure no one there knows me, but by the end of the night, they will remember
Oh,
the name, the Blaze Ace Christian.
I think that there are guys in the IMF locker room that know who you are.
Oh, in the locker room, I'm sure.
Oh, they know you.
But the crowd is what I worry about, because without the people, there is no me.
Right.
So with that being said, me and Thomas, we are going to put on a barn burner. We are going to tear the house down like we know how to do. But Thomas, let me tell you something. This is no hard feelings. This is no diss on you. No, none of that. Because I respect you and I appreciate all that you've done for not only me, but for your home company in IMF. But like I said before, this is just business, and the business is at hand. And whenever I walk into your trap and take over your trap, I'm walking into IMF. I'm not just walking. I'm flying all the way from the East Coast all the way to the Midwest or middle of the country, wherever. I'm traveling out of my area. I'm traveling out of my territory to come into your territory, and I'm about to take over.
So, first time you've been in Iowa.
Yeah.
And you're the first DBW guy to go into the IMF. So, I got to ask then, you do this, will we then see maybe more DBW guys show up in Iowa? Do you think that this will be something that they'll see you, and maybe next time we'll see different guys, whoever that might be? Because as I stated, you're opening the forbidden door that people thought, it would never happen. DBW, IMF, I don't know why, but people thought that would never happen. But say no more. February 22nd, you're going to the Palo Community Center.
I know that there was a lot of history back then with IMF and DBW guys and having that little bicker backer. That's complete.
It's over now. It's over.
To me, that's BS. All that's BS. And it's in the past, like you said.
Me too.
And I'm coming in respectfully. I respect everyone in IMF and I especially respect the owner for allowing this match to happen.
Credit to the owner.
Because
Yeah, credit to the owner.
this has been a match like no one realizes that this has been a match in the making for a couple of years. Just
Yeah.
it hasn't been obviously put out there,
I think
but now
I
it is here.
interviewed
We are
Thomas.
here live in daytime or nighttime, wherever you're at. We are here. We are here on the Sportzwire radio, and I got the
Yeah.
word that I could announce this match. Like,
Well, I'll tell you what. You know
that's
what? I know Thomas, and I interviewed him about 5 months ago, and I think I remember him talking about you. And I was like, yeah, I know Ace Christian. I've interviewed him a few times, and he spoke about like you with reverence. And I think that this is really a huge thing. And I would like to see this every time that it's possible, that there's DBW guys and IMF guys or vice versa, because to me, this is just it's a watershed moment. It's a moment that, like you said, months ago, was there some issues? I don't know. But to me, that's over now because you're coming to the Palo Community Center. I think this is one of the best announcements I've ever heard because this, to me, is just opening the door for anybody else. It could be next time Silas Walker. It could be Chase Wakefield. He always talks about going everywhere anyway. It could be the DBW World Champion Brandon Castelli. I mean, how about this? The DBW World Champion Brandon Castelli against the IMF World Champion Omen Black. I mean, there's so many opportunities. You know, Il Drago. How about Il Drago and Silas Walker? How about, I don't know, Chase Wakefield wrestling Felix Jones. I mean, you could go Justin Parsley and Chase Wakefield, especially their history with the wedding. How about Soldier GP? Soldier GP and, I don't know, Mr. Judgment or Soldier GP and Ace Chris. I mean, there's so many opportunities, but because you're coming, at least we can think about those opportunities. And I think it's great as a fan and as a fan of both companies, as a guy that loves DBW and as a guy that loves IMF, you couldn't ask for anything better.
And I'm glad you say that, and I appreciate the words of all of that. But as far as the rest of the guys, that's on them. I have no business in
but
that.
We can at least have that conversation. At least it's there because you're coming here. What you're doing really is you're opening doors for others to say, hey, Ace is coming here and he's going to wrestle. So why not everybody else? And I think at least whether it happened or not, like you said, I couldn't agree more. That's up to obviously everybody else. I don't get in the business of that. It's up to different people. If somebody asked me my advice, I would always say, I always want to see people have the opportunity to go somewhere. I'm always a believer, as long as it's in a place that, we don't see dirty things done outside the ring. But we know companies like DBW and IMF are some of the very best companies around. And I think to see you here, it's a great moment. I'm going to say it's comparable to Shane McMahon showing up on Nitro. I'm going to say it's comparable to Punk coming back to WWE. I'm going to say it's comparable to The Rock coming back or Bret Hart coming back to WWE after, 12, 13 years and Hogan's returns. This is to me what it is. Because a lot of people would have said, DBW and IMF, conversely, vice versa. This wouldn't happen. But February 22nd, in the Palo Community Center, we're getting a once-in-a-lifetime match. And this is why, Ace Christian, every single month, I donate a ticket, or at least multiple tickets, so somebody can go out there and have an opportunity to watch a lifetime generational match. And that's what we're going to get here. And I, for one, think that this is great, and I cannot wait to talk about this further.
I can't wait, and I'm glad you're looking forward to it. I hope everyone in DBW, I hope everyone in IMF, especially because, like I said, I don't know who all there knows me, but if you know me, that is great, and I appreciate that because after that night, everyone that is watching their live, that is watching their on their TV screen, that is there to meet me, all that stuff, they will remember the name. The Blazing Ace Christian, and they will remember the journey coming out to IMF.
Well, I got to ask you. I mean, you must be interested to go into that locker room. James Taylor, who's a well-documented name. You've probably seen him here many times. He's been in different places. He's the owner of ROEW, actually. And he just went to the IMF. And a lot of people, kind of like you, I think this is very fitting because a lot of people for a long time thought, James Taylor, he's never showing up to IMF. James Taylor, he's never going to wrestle there. But he wrestled there. And a lot of people were like, wow, he was a great guy, easy to work with. And he was somebody that I would love to see more. And I think it's going to be almost the same for you because a lot of people would have said Ace Christian, nah, he would never be an IMF. But you're coming here. You're coming to the Palo Community Center. And I mean, what's it going to be like when you go into that locker room? You know, maybe you meet Omen Black for the first time, or Soldier GP, or Justin Parsley, or Anthony Steele, or, you know, all of the other great talents in the IMF. I think that's a big deal. I mean, you know, have you thought about that?
No, not really. You know, being in the locker room with, you know, those guys, the top
Bon Jovi
guys,
was here as well. Yep.
yeah, like the top guys in IMF. But you know, the show is going to be called King of Palo, right?
Yes.
That's at least
Palo.
what I've heard. The King of Palo.
Palo, but close enough.
Palo, Patano, whatever.
You fit well in Brooklyn, by the way. You would really fit well in Brooklyn.
Okay,
you would.
Okay.
The name pronunciations, you know.
Okay. But we ain't going to New York. We going out to Iowa.
I know that. I realize that.
So like, it's on a real note though. Like, I've never flown a plane before. And
wow.
It's crazy that this is going to be that first experience.
I don't buy that. You, with all the traveling you've done, you and your dad, you've never traveled by plane?
Nope.
Wow. That's wild.
But yeah, so I'm traveling out there. And you know, we, like I said, me and Thomas, we're gonna steal the show. We're gonna do what we know how to do best. But what I know how to do best, other than wrestle, is to walk out with that W. As simple as that.
But you mentioned King of Palo, and that's obviously a tournament, and that's something that would be a big thing. You've obviously accomplished a lot already. VTW World Champion, Wrestler of the Year. You had Match of the Year, Moment of the Year. You also had the DBW Hub City Championship. You took it away from your father. You got a little bit of revenge there. And to come into the IMF and potentially be the King of Palo, boy, what would that do to your resume?
Well, the King of Palo, yeah. I'm not really, you know, I'm not even, and it's not like to, you know, do anything like mix up the pot.
Sure.
I'm just there to get my feet wet. I'm not even worried about the King of Palo. I am just there for the experience. And, you know, if everything goes well, which I hope it, and I think, and I know it must.
I think it is going to go great. I'm really excited.
Once it goes well, then you will maybe be able to see not only more of DBW guys, but more of Ace Christian at.
And I think that's, to me,
IMF.
This is why before a lot of people want to talk to you now about this, and I'm going to give them an opportunity. This is why I think for wrestling, you know, as a fan, as somebody that I'm a fan, and I love what DBW does. So many DBW guys come on to Sportswire. People know IMF in this platform. I wouldn't be where I am if it's not for IMF and DBW. I think of all the IMF guys that are here, and they've been so generous and grateful with their time. The DBW guys, I mean, we've had so many great people over the past few years come on to Sportswire Radio from these two companies. And I just think this is a great moment. And let it be known that I want to see every company work together. I see NEW here. I love to see NEW and IMF if there was a will and a way. DBW and NEW. VTW I see here. I would love to see every company work together except for a couple. One of them starts with the initial of an X, but we're not going to go there with them. But yeah, they do things that we're not even going to give them the time of day. But the point is that there are some really great companies out there. I just saw TF Crew have a show yesterday, which I see Justin Abel saying, I'm sure knows what I'm talking about here, Jake Dvorak. They had a great crowd, and they had people from GTS. They had people from so many great places. They came together, and that's what, to me, this is about. This is what this platform has been born of: people coming together, a community being built. All Wrestling Matters, and truly, to me, this is what All Wrestling Matters is. You coming to IMF and to wrestle Thomas McEntee February the 22nd. This is exactly why I'm donating multiple tickets. This is why TF Cruz show yesterday, I donated not one but 2 tickets. This is why any shows out there, I got my DBW shirt on. This is why we don't just talk the talk here on Sportswire. We walk the walk. And this is why I'm really excited about this. I just think, to me, this is a watershed moment. It's a moment that I really think for the wrestling community, the All Wrestling Matters movement, it's just something that, to me, it's finally happening. It should have happened already. We're getting it. I can't wait. Let me get to a few comments before I get to some final things, because I know you're a busy man. There we go here. Zilla's biggest regret is that she came on the show. No, you shouldn't have had that as a regret. You came on. Nikki Chooch, Knights of Columbus is where I used to go to the NA meetings. Well, close enough. Let's see what else we got here. Yep, it's official, by the way. IMF, we signed a deal for the match. Management has confirmed that. And by the way, if you are here, you got to follow IMF on YouTube. If you aren't following IMF on YouTube, I'm not quite sure at this point why you wouldn't. You're going to watch Ace Christian in the ring if you're like me in New York and can't be there live, even though you may donate a ticket. That's the IMF YouTube page. You can see so many great things, so many great contents, just like DBW. Go out there and hit a sub for the IMF. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. There you go. I want to say hello to my man, Justin Abel Sane, who's a guy you should one day square off in the ring. And he's in Massachusetts, as a matter of fact. Hello there. There you go. Thanks to Justin Parsley. Let's see what else we got here. Il Drago, my man that I'm hosting a show with once a month. He's in your chair 2 weeks from now. It's a different kind of show. We're going to talk about, it's the High Chief Talks. And he's going to talk about different things in terms of, as a wrestler, to be a wrestler, different things.
I like the respect part. I like that you're all about respect, because
he is one of those guys. I think this is the guy you're going to hit it off with. I think you're going to hit it off with all of them. Believe it or not, I think when you go and meet Omen Black, Soldier GP, Anthony Steele, Sean Jovi, Il Drago, Felix Jones, most certainly Justin Parsley, Ox McCoy, Prince Achia, Freddie Daniels, the Midwest Express, you're going to hit it off with so many of your peers. But Soldier says this: don't jump the gun, Ace. In order for you want to take over IMF, you have to step across from me. Ooh.
All right. Soldier. Like I said before, I'm not, I don't have any disrespectful intentions on IMF. I have no intentions on taking over the IMF world, unless unless you think I'm a threat. I wouldn't blame you if you think I'm a threat, but let's not go that way, because I am not about that. I'm not about, trying to walk over and take. I mean, I did say I'd walk over and take over the track, but I don't mean it like I don't mean it like that. I just mean it like I'm there to stand on business. I'm there to put on a show, and I'm there to prove to Thomas that I'm the better guy. That's all it is.
I tell you what, that's why I'm excited about that. Yes, the world of opportunity is vast. I couldn't agree with Justin. And with regards to ticket donating, yes, thank you. That's my pleasure. I love our community, and I'll do anything to support. So, yes, and I believe that we are witnessing a revolution. You're a part of that, young man, what you're doing here. Very happy about that. Yes, you fix your mistakes. What else we got here? My main man, Barry Gutman's on Twitch. He's the hardcore gamer. In fact, Barry and I go back so long that he remembers me without mutton chops.
So, what did you have before mutton chops?
Nothing. Nothing. I'll put it up on the screen before we leave. But yeah,
oh god,
I'll do it. Listen, I mean, I'll put it up. People have seen it already. Barry's probably sick and tired of it, but Barry and I go back from Brooklyn. We go way back from each other. But here we go. I'm going to put it up on the screen just because I'm a nice guy. I'm that type of guy to quote LL Cool J. But there I was. See, there I was. That was me and Barry about 7 years ago in Coney Island. Yep.
Is that one on the left? You?
Yeah, that's me and that's Barry.
Dang, boy.
There I was. Yep.
That's crazy, dude.
Yep, there you go. What's up, Tom? Yep, I'm doing great. And Ace, I'll see you at the King of Palo February 22nd. Yep. No 911. Come on. He wants me to call 911, or he wants to call 911 on me. Yeah, we actually had some interesting stories in the neighborhood. But he's a hardcore gamer. Give him a follow. I'll put his YouTube channel up. But okay, we'll talk about that. I got to talk about a couple more things before we go with you. First of all, I understand you've wrestled in the Indies in West Virginia, WDWA, if I'm not mistaken, with
Yes.
a friend of
Yes.
mine who's coming on to Sportswire Radio in 3 weeks, Anton Nathan.
I know.
So, what's it been like wrestling in the Indies here, real quick?
So on the independent scene, just still get my feet wet a little bit, but I'm going all over clearly I'm going all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Going to Iowa, going to West Virginia, going to New York, all that, and it's only gonna grow and get better from there. And like I said earlier, this is just the start for the journey. The journey.
I tell you what, yes, I'm
Pun
going to be going
intended
to the,
that time.
I will be going to the Bonfire store in a few weeks. So before February 22nd, I'll have my The Journey shirt on because I will make sure I have it. And yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say once you get that, you will officially be a part of the journey.
Well, you know what? I do need to be a part of the journey. But oh, yes, the picture was actually September 11th, 2018. We were at it here in Brooklyn in Bay Ridge. They do a memorial for all the victims from September 11th because it was the area there, a lot of probably the most amount of people were killed, unfortunately, in those buildings. And it was run by a man that was my former employer for a period of time in campaigns, State Senator Marty Golden. So that's where we took the photo. But thank you, Barry, for clarifying. And Barry's got a YouTube channel. Hit the sub button for him. I understand before we go that you have a magazine profile coming up here, right? Was it One World Magazine?
One Division Pro. If you look up their online site, you'll be able to see their online magazine, their full online magazine, and who knows, you might see this pretty face on there. So.
Well, your dad ain't going there next. So that's another thing that will certainly.
Yeah, he ain't following me.
Yeah, I think the Ghost music he plays and the Creed shows he goes to, I don't think are going to qualify him for it. But is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that you want to go over here before we obviously get ready to close? We talked about a lot tonight. I just, your VTW run, amazing. DBW, interesting.
We're getting there.
Getting there. And then your indie stuff I thought was cool. I thought also what you've done this year outside of your life and, buying your first car, driver's license, graduating high school, and now you're in the indies. And then, oh, by the way, you're showing up to the IMF in a moment that's going to really forever break the forbidden door. But is there anything else that you want to throw out there before we sign off tonight?
No, I think we covered everything. You already know you got to follow me on the Instagram. You got to follow me on the Facebook. You got to follow me at DBW, VTW, soon to be IMF. And then, One Division Pro, you can catch me out there up in New York. And then WDW.
I was going to ask you, where in New York is that again? Is that more west? Where is that?
Queens.
You know what? You're almost near me. Queens is almost. I'm almost near Queens.
You got to pop out to Queens.
I haven't been to Queens since my last friend wrestled, the guy Chris Urban, who was trained by Amazing Red in the House of Glory Dojo. Maybe that's where you're not wrestling at the House of Glory Dojo, right? In there.
Could you do me a solid favor and click on that first post? Yes, sir. Hey, if you are a promoter watching this, please book me, please and thank you, because I am a respectful talent. I will help. I will do anything and everything to be on the show. So like on a real note, like. My dates are filling up, so.
Well, good. You know what? Your dates better fill up. And, the Queens one, we'll talk about that off the air. The Queens, maybe we'll see what the stars will align. We'll see. Maybe. It's a possibility on Queens. But, well, in the meantime, follow Ace. Definitely check him out. And February 22nd can't come soon enough. King of Palo, Thomas McEntee versus the Blaze Ace Christian. You heard it here first.
Versus the Idolator. Let's go.
It's one of those, I tell you what, you're going to want to remember where you were for a long time. It's just, to me, like I said, for our community, this is like Shane McMahon on Nitro. This is like Brett coming back after all those years, Hogan returning. It's Punk coming back. It's just, to me, the Forbidden Door, AEW and TNA working together, then WWE and TNA working together. All the great things, to me, it's like Mickey James showing up at the Royal Rumble a few years. This is a really watershed moment. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to talk about it further. We have a lot more IMF coverage ahead coming up. In fact, they've got a show here coming up, New Year's Vengeance, in 2 weeks from now, and the guys are all going to be here to talk about that. And I'm sure your name is going to come up. I'm going to mention you, I'm sure, to some of those names, and I cannot wait, especially after James Taylor just showing up in the IMF. And oh boy, Ace Christian, definitely remember where you were tonight. But my friend, Happy New Year. Congratulations on all of the success. I let you run and do what you have to do to get prepared for the ring and everything else. And I'm sure we'll get a thought or two from Thomas between now and next month. And congratulations on all the success. Can't wait to see you here more in VTW and certainly in the IMF February the 22nd.
Thank you, Tom, again for having me and, talking about all this stuff. And I was glad I was able to make this announcement here on Sportswire. And I hope everyone is just.
It was the only place you could have made. Listen, the only place you could have made the announcement was here. Where else would you have made it? They wouldn't have got the reference. They wouldn't have. You could have went somewhere else, but they wouldn't have.
But no, I appreciate you, letting me on the show again. I know you'll be like anytime, but no, I really do appreciate
listen, DBW and IMF are always my. Two of my favorites. NEW I see is here. They're right there with me. TF Crew. We love everybody. Long, in Browns and DBW and the IMF are a part of that. But this is Ace Christian. He is the VTW champion. He's their wrestler of the year. He had their match of the year, moment of the year. You're going to see him coming up there in VTW later this year. You're going to see him also in DBW when they resume coming up in March or April. And February 22nd, the IMF King of Palo in a dream match against Thomas McEntee. Yes, it is finally happening. He is showing up to the IMF. I think it's going to open up the doors for everybody. You'll also see him in the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. Yes, that'll happen. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. I will be here at some point tomorrow. I don't know yet who I'm with, but I do have a guest. It's a matter of which one because, Raw and Netflix, some people I don't want to show up, but there is one guest waiting in the wings. I'm here also Tuesday night. I'm here with Stefan Havoc of NEW and TF Crew. I'm also here Wednesday night with Andrew Lovelace, the be-all, end-all. I think you know him very well. And then Thursday, I'm here with Nikki Chooch. I'm really excited about Nikki Chooch, but in the meantime, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And one more word. As the savior and world champion of the IMF, I'll allow you in my territory for that night. You seem like a respectable young man. Okay.
Hey, all right. If you keep talking crazy like that, we're going to have problems.
I would say go back on my TikTok and see what he did. He actually bled here on air, and he was basically, let's just say, going to kill Justin Parsley and Omen Black, literally. So I would say
because he's out here saying, "I'll allow you my territory for that."
Well, he's really right now in a different frame of mind. So you'll find out though. You'll meet him. I'm just here on Sportswire. You'll get to meet him and find out. But until then,
be able to get to meet him. And
you will.
And if there's a problem, we can handle that at a different time. But the problem, it's not even a problem that I got to handle. It's just, like I said, it's just business. But if there is a problem that occurs with Mr. Owen Black, we can handle that at a different time.
Well, you know what? You'll figure it out either way. We'll talk more about it. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy. Go watch the Vikings-Lions. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. Hit the sub button for us. Ace Christian, DBW, IMF, VTW, and I'll see